What's going on, guys? It is Brandon here from Audio Addiction. We have my good friend Doug here from Coe Hill. You may have seen us do an interview, not in the so distant future or past. I mean, and
Almost
I
a year ago.
almost a year ago. So, um, does not feel. It feels like an eternity ago, but it was an absolute blast and. Uh, this one's more or less my fault. I was trying to get Doug on much sooner, but we had some difficulty scheduling some stuff. So I'm just fortunate to have Doug on and obviously wanting to do this. But that's enough of me talking about Doug. Doug can tell him about himself, what he does, all that jazz.
Hello, everyone. I am Doug, and I guess I kind of am Coe Hill.
You are.
So for those that, so for those that don't understand or know what Coe Hill is, it's really kind of like a internet band slash collaborative project. I write instrumentals, record them with my producer buddy Kyle, and from there, I source a unique vocalist, or in some cases, two unique vocalists per each track. And so each one's a little bit different from the last. There's some consistent vibes throughout them all, but it really started out as a COVID project and turned into so much more.
Yeah, no. And the cool thing about it was, I think at the time, I think only Deadweight was out when we talked.
Yeah, so you were actually, I think, my first or second interview ever for Coe Hill.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was just really right at the start in the Genesis when Dead Weight dropped. And I think it was like 2 weeks or something after it
Yeah.
came out. You had me on, so we
That.
we didn't have much to talk about other than that kind of one song and other like music related like
Yeah.
influences and questions. But yeah, a lot's changed since the last interview.
A lot to catch up on. But
Hmm.
I thought initially when I had Doug on, I was just like, I just want to keep an eye out and just because I think for me, like, and I think we even talked about it in our interview, was just like the necessity. I feel like for bands to feel like they don't need to collab with people, and I felt like the coolest thing about what you're doing is that you know every track has a feature on it, and now I see, I've seen a couple different bands do this kind of formula. Not that it's anything new, because I think we talked about it too, like in like rap and hip hop. That's always been kind of a staple of those genres. So I thought, man, I was like, I gotta have Doug on because this to me is something really cool, and I hope that bands kind of utilize it more, just because not only from, I would even say, from a marketing aspect of it, but also just like, you know, just making interesting music and working with people that you're, maybe not, 100%, familiar with. I think that always is cool, and just having the cross pollination of different bands and genres and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like features and collaborations, certainly within call I guess the alternative music scene, it has really changed in I guess music in general. So even look at like what Scaring Kids are doing. So their next
Yeah,
album is exactly kind of this concept. Is so unfortunately they're I think his name's Tyson.
you are correct.
Their
Yeah.
vocalist passed away a few years ago. They restarted the band shortly before that, and so now each track same type of deal is different vocalists. Their I guess their most recent track was Little Lotus on the debut single, and I believe Issues are actually because Tyler Carter's done now, so like I believe the next Issues album is actually going to be all unique vocalists across the whole thing as well.
Very cool.
So
Very cool.
a few other people kind of doing the same thing in the same space. But hey, whatever. I'm not the first one to do it either, so it's not like uh, anything's getting ripped off. But you're totally right. Hip hop was kind of, I guess, a big starter of that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And then I guess just features in general have become really popular with streaming in the sense that like it links you to the other artist's page. So like if you're in my Spotify and you click In Fear and Faith on the feature, you go to their page, it actually shows my album artwork under there saying appears on volume one maybe next year on this track. So there's a whole marketing aspect to why features have really taken off. It's
Mm-hmm.
because the way the streaming platforms operate now. And also, hey, it's someone else that has a whole new fan base
Yeah.
when they tweet or post or do whatever across their socials. It hits X amount thousands of more people as well. So it's just a way of like cross pollinating and helping every artist get their name out there a little bit more.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think even at the end of the day too, it's just like it's cool to hear, right? I think that's probably the best thing about it is that like some of these artists I've heard of and some of them I haven't, and I think that's what really makes it unique for me is to be like, okay, well, I have a channel that kind of revolves around art, having different artists on, but I am
Hmm.
not the be all end all, I don't know all of it, so I think it's cool for me to at least hear someone in like a different element and then hear them in their actual band, right? And I think that's what really makes it interesting for me. And like I said, when it came out, I was like, I think I'll hold off because I want to give the natural reaction to the people here. So the only one I have listened to is Dead Weight thus far. So I'm going into this blind, which I'm really stoked
No
about.
way.
Yeah, completely blind, Doug. So very excited about
Okay, that's
that.
cool.
Also, I feel like I'd be remiss to ask this, and I know we talked about it a little bit off camera, but I want to give a shout out to you because that whole thing with Mark Hoppus, I think that's really awesome. If you haven't followed Doug on TikTok, there will be a link in the description to go do that. Um, but I just thought I was like when I saw you post that, I was like, that is so sweet. That is so cool.
Yeah, that was really awesome. And for anyone that's listening or watching that doesn't follow me or doesn't know what happened. So on TikTok and Instagram, I kind of one of the videos and I guess ways I kind of entertain my followers is I do these name that tunes. I do 4 or 5 notes of a song and just ask people, hey, if you know it, just drop it in the comments. A few weeks ago now, I did Wendy Clear from Blink 182. I posted on both TikTok and Instagram Reels, and then one morning I got a notification on a comment or from a comment on TikTok, and someone says, "Hey, Mark Hoppus just posted this on Instagram," and I was kind of in disbelief for a second, and of course I had to go right to Mark Hoppus's page, hit his story, and lo and behold, he reshared me playing Wendy Clear, and he had like a little joke with it too. He's like, "Hey, I know this one," or something like that. But like he did like classic kind of like Mark humor with the caption, and uh, I don't know how he got the video. I don't know if it organically showed up in his feed or it showed up in someone in his network's feed, and he got flipped to him. But like it went from like 3,000 views all the way up to like 120K from the end of the when the story was done, and so it's pretty impressive to kind of see that like I guess true influencer impact, how it can
Yeah.
have on like an artist's video. And then I think I got like 60 new followers from it, which was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And that's without he didn't like tag my post or anything. Like he didn't like write thanks at Coe Hill for playing or something. Like it was just a link to my video. So uh, um, yeah, it was just people like then going out and searching my profile afterwards to go and hit the follow button.
It's just so wild to me. So I feel like I had to point it out because I think it hadn't happened the last time we talked. So that's
No, this
really
is a
cool.
few weeks ago.
So
Trust me, I'm
cool.
going to be bragging about this for several years.
Oh, I listen. If that happened to me, I would also be bragging about that a whole lot. So, again,
I screenshot it, I filmed it, like I did everything to save the
you're
memory.
like, I'm gonna save that memory no matter how hard I try. It's gonna be with me forever.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel that. Um, but guys, if you haven't checked out Coe Hill, please do so. First of all of the links will be below. Go check out Doug's project because, I don't want to say, but Lil Birdie told me, new music is coming up sometime, soon. So, can't confirm or deny that, but you know, I just want to let you know that that's a possibility out there. But I want to give a shout out to Halo Spawn. He's in our chat. So what's going on? But the first track is Warning. This one features Devil in the Details. Before we started, Doug, I'm curious, how did you go about finding these people to have as a feature? Because I think I even like alluded to it beforehand, but in our like last interview. But how do these people reach out to you? Do you reach out to them, or is it kind of like, I'm curious how the details are sorted out? Because I feel like it would be, at least for me, I feel like it would be like all over the place, you know?
Yeah, so certainly for the first EP, it was a lot of actually, it was entirely me reaching out to other people.
Oh
It
wow.
was me leaning into like my music network to say, "Oh, hey, do you know this person?" or "Hey, do you know who might sound cool on
Yeah.
this song?" So uh, yeah, so it was a lot of a bit of a grind to some extent because certainly at this point I have like no music released. I've got like no semblance of like, are there listeners? Do people care about this? So
Mm-hmm.
it was a little hard to get people to buy into the first one. I got left on red a lot of times. I got ignored a lot of times. Um, but I eventually obviously got a whole crew lined up to do this. So this song, I guess, coming up first, Warning, for example. Um, and I guess an easier way to go through it is maybe I'll give the story of each, like, I guess recruitment is how
Yeah.
I'll call it before each song. So I don't have to do like a whole long-winded thing now about each track. I'll cover that before we jump into each one.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Warning, for example, I had this song. Everything starts with the instrumental, so I get the instrumental down. Um, we get it demoed out into a good spot. Somewhat polished, and then I from there I go like, okay, who does this sound like? So for example, this one, the influence that came to me, I was like, okay, this kind of sounds like Beartooth, kind of sounds like Silverstein,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of Linkin Park vibes. um so that kind of narrows the scope of what type of bands, vocalists I might be looking for. And so then this one actually came from a friend of mine. I said, hey, who do you think could sound good on this song? And he said, oh, I know this guy that sings in this band, The Devil in the Details. This kind of seems right up his alley. And he actually reached out to the vocalist's name is Sean. He reached out to Sean on my behalf and kind of made some sort of like warm introduction, being like, hey,
Sure.
I know this
Yeah.
guy Doug. He's looking for vocalists to hop on this thing. This is what he's doing. And then from there, he made the connection, sent me the email, and everything lined up for this one.
That's awesome. Well, congrats to your friend for getting this loaded up, because I feel like I feel that pain, because as doing YouTube for over 6 years now, like my first year was probably, if not identical to yours, which was just like DMing people on like Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or
That's
whatever.
exactly what it was. A lot of them was like, just like, okay, I think this vocalist could sound cool, and then I just kind of scan bands on Spotify, create like some list in my notes app, being like, oh, so for this song, like these singers could sound cool, and then would just find them on Instagram or find them on Facebook and shoot them a message explaining what the project is, what the deal is, and see if they responded. A lot of the
Yeah.
times they didn't.
Like I said, I feel that so much, and
Mm.
I'm glad you're able to find people that really worked with these songs. Some of the names, like I said, I'm familiar with, and some of them I'm not. And so I feel like for me, like, as being a content creator, like that's like the most difficult thing, is just to continue just like shooting your shot all the time, and then being like, people respond, great. If they don't respond, then you like, just put your nose to the grindstone and you do it a little bit more, So I got to give you respect for that, because that gives me a little PTSD a little bit, but also at the same point, I know it's like worth it. And again, I'm sure the final products are great. So um, without further ado, guys, we're going to get into the first track, which is Warning, and it features Devil in the Details, and we'll get into it in 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, that was the first track, Warning, and again, features Devil in the Details. Um, this one was really cool. It reminds me, I don't know, it gives me that nostalgia feel. I'm an old fart. I just turned 29 earlier this month, so um, it definitely reminds me of like some like old school like post hardcore kind of stuff. You know, a little alty. Um, like a little bit of Silverstein. There's definitely some Beartooth influence for sure. Um, but I really like that bridge. That tempo change at the little later half was really nice. Um, the vocals were really interesting. I think that was probably like the thing that stood out to me to the most. I feel like there's gonna be people that like it, and I feel like there might be people that might be a little bit unsure about how it is. Um, it's definitely unlike most vocalists I've heard. Like it's got this really interesting kind of strain, I guess. Like it's definitely he definitely did a really interesting job in the screams. Like I feel like he kind of meshed his like singing vocals and his screaming vocals in a unique way. So, um, I like this one to start. I'm curious how the rest are gonna unfold. I really have. I mean, obviously, listen to Dead Weight, so I have a lot of love for that one, just because you know that track's awesome, and also, who doesn't love Tiger Wine? You know, um, but but yeah, no, this one was really solid. I guess lyrically, how do you kind of go about these? Because usually when I have people on, you know, the vocalist or whoever writes the lyrics can talk about that. So I'm curious if you had them write their own lyrics, or was that something you did? I'm curious on the process, Doug. You know.
Yeah, so uh, each vocalist in on the project wrote their own lyrics. I'm not a lyricist at all. Um, and so I mean, through the process of like recruiting vocalists, I definitely lost a few people because some people were like, "Yeah, I'll sing it, but like I don't want to write lyrics."
Fair
Which
enough.
I get. It's a lot of like energy to put in to someone else's project. Like everyone I'm reaching out to is in a band already, right? So like if they write something, like it's taken away creative energy or creative juices or vibes that they could be investing in their own band. So I totally understand why like a lot of people wouldn't be into this sort of concept of doing like a full song
Sure.
when that's like something they could invest in their own project. Um, so yeah, right from the get-go, I tell people, hey, like creative control is yours. Like if you want some ideas, like feel free to like bounce off like themes or like vibes with me and we can kind of go from there. But the interesting thing with this one, so when I guess when most people like demo out a song, like you don't really use like a name, like very seldom will the demo name be like the actual song name
Yeah.
because it's usually just a placeholder to connotate, okay, this is what the song is. I need to save it as something. So this song was initially called Warning, Do Not Eat Your Fortune, which was a fortune cookie message I got when I wrote this song.
That's
Or
great.
like around the time, like I had this fortune cookie that said, Warning, do not eat your fortune. And then when I like saved the demo, I like looked at the fortune cookie thing and just saved it as that. And then when we were in the process of doing like the formal demo, Kyle, the producer, I don't think he wanted to type out all that, so we just called it Warning. And then and then clearly Sean used that kind of as his jumping off point, like, okay,
Mhm.
where can I go with Warning? And he really, if you listen to the lyrics, it's really kind of a story about like, I guess a broken relationship or a toxic relationship, and like how you should have seen like the red flags, the signals to like before it got too far. So it is interesting that he actually kind of used the demo name as his jumping off point to get like a lyrical theme and a lyrical vibe from it, and the name stuck to the final master release.
Very cool. Well, again, I
Mm-hmm.
think I've mentioned this a few times in the ones that I've done, but I always love doing these now as of recently, and it will probably continue to be a staple on the channel. But um, I love doing this because it's for me like I'm such a music nerd that I enjoy knowing these little details that probably people don't give a shit about, you know, like and so for me, I think that was a really cool tidbit of like information that I would have probably never known if I didn't have you on, right? And so that's really cool. In terms of uh like length, Doug, how long do you feel like the demos stay relatively the same? In terms of like the first demo up until what we hear now, or did it change quite a bit? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I guess going from the instrumental angle, this is actually probably the oldest song that is on the EP. So
Wow. Okay.
the main section of this, so like the verse and chorus, I actually wrote that back in college.
Wow. Okay.
So about yeah, so I like that do 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 like
Yeah.
that riff and like that the hammer on pull off in the chorus. Like I wrote that back when I was in my senior year of college, so that was I guess almost 10 years ago
Oof.
or something like that now. So when I guess doing this EP with Kyle, I was like, oh, I really liked what I wrote back then. I think it's time to like bring this song to life.
Yeah.
And so the bridge I had at the time was, I guess, kind of the nature of what this genre was. It like the bridge was so long; it was probably like three or four different like bridges in one. It just went on for a super long time. So we actually that was like really the only thing that got cut. And the original intro was very heavy. It was like go go ga go go ga go go ga
Okay.
like
Yeah.
with like harmonics and actually like knock kind of like sounded like a little knocked loose kind of.
Hmm.
So the intro got scrapped as well to kind of something a bit more like um, fitting, that wasn't as heavy.
Yeah.
Um, so really, the instrumental was a lot longer. It needed to get cut down. I think it's about like 3 minutes and a half type thing right now,
Hmm.
as the final product. So the bridge was really the only major rewrite of the song. That came together pretty quickly and ended up being much more cohesive than what was initially written. So it came out for the better.
I would agree as well. Um, I think it's always really cool that bands unearth some of their riffs from like years ago. Like I it just makes me think about some of the guitar stuff that I've written, and I'm like, man, I'm probably not gonna remember this shit, so it doesn't matter anyway. So, um, for me, I think that's really cool. Being a guitarist myself, like, just the riffs were real solid. I really enjoyed the kind of just this nostalgia, at least for me. That was really something that stuck with me, and again, very stoked on this one. If you haven't already, guys, go check out Devil in the Details as well. I'm sure they would also greatly appreciate it. But we're gonna move into track number 2, which is Ghosts. And this one, Doug alluded to a little bit earlier in terms of the features, but Rival Town and In Fear and Faith are on this track, which I think is very cool. Um, Funny sidebar: I saw Rival Town in a dive bar in New Jersey, like
No
I want to
way.
say
That's cool.
a couple years ago. Um, More than a couple actually, but I remember seeing them. I forget who they were on tour. I think they were on tour with. Let me see if I can jog my ancient memory here. Um, I believe they were on tour with Boys of Fall, which again is another great band to check out if
Oh,
you
no
haven't.
way.
They
Yeah,
were
it's a huge
touring.
band.
They were touring the states, because I know Rival Town's from Canada, and
Yeah.
that was they're great. I'm I hope that they come back to the states and play some more shows because they had such a great energy. So big shout outs to Rival Town, and also I believe it's a if I want to if I'm not misspeaking, I think isn't that a nod to Pokemon? I'm gonna guess Rival Town. I feel like I
Oh,
feel like it
actually, I
is.
have no idea.
I thought for sure it was. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm sure somebody will correct me if I am wrong. But the cool thing was In Fear and Faith. Like I'm sure much like you, Doug, have been a big fan of In Fear and Faith for a long time. So I'm curious, how did you get not only one but two features on one track? I feel like that's a story in and of
Yeah,
itself.
this one is a bit of a story. So, the first demo of this song and the first vocalist I had on board actually didn't make the cut of the song. So I initially had a different vocalist entirely that demoed out on this song.
Oh wow.
Uh, yeah, so we got the vocal demo back. The verse and the chorus were pretty cool, but the one thing we really didn't like was the bridge. So we gave the vocalist some notes. Okay, like this is what we think you need to do vocally on the verse and the chorus to kind of get it a bit tighter, a bit more in shape. Um, but the bridge was so far off kind of what our vision was for it and what we thought the potential could be that we were just
Mm-hmm.
like, we should just get someone else to do the bridge entirely because like I don't think he's kind of grasping like the vibe for it. So that's when I reached out to the label that I released from Blackgate Records, and um, he was also the mastering engineer, Tyler. Uh, he's friends with Scott Barnes of In Fear and Faith. So I just messaged him being like, "Hey man, like I need someone to do an interesting vocal on the bridge. Like, do you think Scott would be down for it?" And so Scott was down for it. We sent Scott the lyrics, and he came up with the bridge section of the song, which he absolutely crushed. And so then once we saw Scott's part and this other guy's part, we're like, man, this first part just isn't going to cut it. It's not good. So I actually I actually kicked him off the song and said, "Hey, thanks, but like I'm going to go in a different direction." And so now I had this weird kind of situation where I've got the bridge of a song written, I've got the vocals and everything. I don't want to ask Scott to rewrite something or re-record something.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in that predicament. Okay, I'm like listening to the song, the instrumental, who can sound cool on this? And I was just kind of scrolling through bands and came across. I was familiar with Rival Town, but I was kind of interested in getting another Canadian band on the project. So I reached out to Mike and said, "Hey, Mike, this is what's going on. I've got the bridge done. It's with In Fear and Faith." He was a fan of In Fear and Faith, so it was pretty cool for him to record with record on a track with Scott.
Yeah.
So I think he was pretty hyped about that aspect about it. But then he also had like to make sure that his lyrics fit the bridge, which is usually not how like lyricists will write. Is usually you start with like a verse or a chorus, and bridge is kind of the last section. So here he is. He's
Yeah.
got the bridge. He's got to work around the bridge theme, which is kind of tailored into what the first vocalist wrote. So it was kind of this one was kind of a big puzzle to put together, but it came out so much better in the end. Everyone killed it. This one's really cool, and like you said, it's got a lot of nostalgia vibes by having Scott on it, and then it's got some like modern flair by having a more up and coming artist on it as well.
Yeah, like I said, I saw this and I was like, man, I'm excited to listen to this one just because, again, In Fear and Faith was, it's still my shit. I'll have to, ironically enough, I'll probably have to put them on at some point this week now.
Afterwards.
But I thought that was really cool. And then just knowing Rival Town already, I was like, man, I think this is going to be really interesting. So, kudos to you for figuring that out, because I would have been like, what the fuck do I do? I have no idea what's going on here. We got Scott. We already did the bridge. Like, we got a different vocalist, Mike, that's going to be doing, the verses and the chorus. How are we going to make that work? I'm sure it was just like, at least in my head, I feel like it would be just an absolute nightmare. But, obviously the fruits of your labor have worked out. So that's awesome. But we're going to move it into track number 2, guys, which again is Ghost, and this one features Rival Town and In Fear and Faith. In 3, 2, 1.
Another day's gone, I'll put your mind at ease.
All right, guys, this one was Ghosts, and it features Rival Town and In Fear and Faith. Um, yeah, this one's a bop, Doug. This one absolutely. I think this one is my favorite so far. I'm just gonna put the peg in it right now. This is number one. Um, that chorus was fantastic. Um, Mike killed it on the vocals, and then just to hear Scott come in and the transition was just, chef's kiss. Um, yeah, I loved it. I loved the like little bit of screaming in there from Mike, and then I know Scott did a little screaming there too. Man, this was just this is about as close to 10 out of 10, I'd say, as I could get, honestly.
Thank you.
It just
Yeah, this one
works
came
so
together
well.
so well. Hmm.
Yeah. When you said that earlier, you're like, man, this one you're going to be so stoked on because everything's just going to be like so well, like just so fluid. And, again, that 3.5 minutes just like kind of just like melted out, it was great. So, um, yeah, this one was awesome, and just to kind of, I haven't heard Scott's voice in a little bit, so for me, it was just really really well done, and I man, the chords were, again, the guitar writing was just super well done on this one. I just think like the tempo just really worked. Also, shout outs to Daryl. He said, dig those chord progressions. So, shout outs to Daryl. You should get him on because I'm shilling for you, Daryl. You should get Daryl on a track. That'd be sick. But anyway, Doug, we did talk about how how the song formulated together, but I'm really curious on. Like you said, Warning was the oldest track. I'm curious in terms of time frame. How old is Ghost? Did it change a lot in terms of the writing process? And then obviously you can delve into lyrics after that.
Yeah, so this was, I guess, the newest write of all the songs on there.
Mm-hmm.
This actually wasn't really slated to be on the EP in general. So,
Wow.
um, when I had like we had a short list of 5 songs that we were moving forward with. We were already demoing out, getting things off to vocalists, kind of sourcing people to be a part of the project. And then I just had this that do 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 like that arpeggiated picking. I
Mm-hmm.
came up with that and I was like, oh man, I really like this. For me, like it was, I felt like very like movements inspired by that
Yeah.
riff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of what really drove me to write that song. I was thinking about like that band and kind of like really tensiony sounding arpeggiations, very kind of ominous and dark sounding guitar part. And so once I wrote that song, I was like, man, that's definitely better than this other demo I have. So I did my own like the demos I make, like I'm not a good engineer, so they're kind of like a demo of a demo is like how I explain like my level of like recording at home is it's a demo of a demo. So I sent
Yeah.
off my version of a demo off to Kyle, the producer. I said, hey, like, what do you think of this? I think it's better than X song that we have slated to do. And he agreed. So we just like, it was a no brainer being like, okay, we're going to make this one work instead of this other one. So it's kind of interesting when you think that like this one almost, depending on like how far along we may have been on another song, almost wouldn't have been on it or would have
Yeah.
been like an EP2 type thing. Um, so yeah, it was the newest one of the bunch. And then as far as lyrics go, like I said before the track played, is I initially had a different vocalist on it. Um, and he wrote lyrics for the whole thing. Scott did the bridge. Thematic wise, it's similar along the lines of like toxic relationship,
Mm-hmm.
um, something you should get out of but can't get out of, like almost like a bad addiction type thing.
Yeah.
And so that's what the initial vocalist kind of wrote about, and that's what Scott built his bridge around. Then obviously once I let the first vocalist go off the track, Mike then needed to come in and he still needed to utilize that theme. So it
Hmm.
was really the theme set by the initial vocalist that was on the project. And then Mike just worked with it and was really impressed with what he did, being able to kind of just work off a bridge and a general theme. Because he needed to work around the bridge part that we already had recorded.
Yeah.
And then kind of once we heard their two parts together, so you'll also hear that Scott's in the third chorus doing like ad libs.
Yeah.
So it goes, by the way. I'm clearly not a vocalist, but like
Yeah.
he kind of fills in some of the spaces. So like once I was like hearing that last chorus, I'm like, man, I definitely need to keep hearing. I need to hear Scott's vocal still in bits and pieces on the way out. So
Yeah.
when Scott was like with Tyler again, at a later point, I said, hey, can you get Scott just like throw some quick ad libs just to kind of fill out that last chorus,
Yeah. Yeah.
just to help take it home. Um, but yeah, kind of get what you're saying earlier is like Scott's voice is like so cool in the sense that like it's you can tell it's Scott's voice, right? Like
Yeah.
there's not a lot of
100%.
vocalists in this like space where their tone and like their vocal style is unique. Like a lot of people say like a lot of the stuff sounds the same and unfortunately it kind of does, but like Scott's voice definitely like if you could pick it out in a crowd, like he has
100%.
a unique tone and unique range and style to himself that's like really impressive to have in this genre.
And I also think that he meshed up super well with Mike in that last chorus too.
Yes.
Like that was
Yeah.
really something that just sold me even more on the song, was just like the way that their vocals like just worked really well together. Um and then just kind of comparatively to just like how the vocals match up with the instrumentals, I just thought was really well put together. And like you said, I would be I was kind of surprised to know that this one wouldn't have made the cut, because I feel like, for me right now, this is number one, no doubt. So I would have been definitely, I don't think I would have been as happy if this was not on here. So um got to give
Well, it's
props to
kind of
them.
funny how inspiration and when inspiration can strike you because like
Sure. Yeah.
uh sometimes you're in like in a creative rut. Sometimes there's months where like I'm like everything I write sucks, and like then there's months where I'm like everything I write is great. Um, so like I was just kind of glad we were at a point not too far along in the project where I wrote this and I was like this needs to be on it ahead of like other songs that
Yeah.
I've demoed. So it kind of like struck me at the right time when we could do something with it versus kind of sit on it for a year and come back to it at a later time.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to squeeze this one in. Um, I'm now that you even gave me the thought about it, I was just curious even what song would have even would have replaced this one. So I'm sure we'll have to find out for EP number two. I imagine on some of the songs that didn't quite make the cut. But next one, Doug. This one's 1 year later, and this one features In Case We Crash and Nightwell. I am familiar with In Case We Crash. I know a few members in that band, so very cool. And Nightwell, I don't think I've heard of them, but they didn't seem familiar off of a first glance. But I know In Case We Crash is from Canada, so I'm pretty sure if
Hmm.
my logic serves me correct, I'm pretty sure you wanted to get another Canadian band on here. So, but I'll let you talk about it, Doug. So how did this facilitate? I'm very curious.
Yeah, so this one's also kind of a bit of that like pop punky emo alternative
Yeah,
style instrumental once you hear it. So I knew I needed someone that could kind of lean into that emo vibe with good cleans, kind of dark messaging in their lyrics. Um, so the way this one actually started with getting In Case We Crash's vocalist Simon on the track. Um, and he is friends with Kyle Marchant, the guy who produced the
nice. Okay.
EP.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said I just reached out to Kyle. I said, hey, like, do you know Simon from In Case We Crash? And he said, yeah. I was like, hey, do you mind reaching out to him and telling him what we're trying to do here and uh, he was the one that reached out to Simon, gave him the quick lowdown, and gave me his email. And from there, I reached out and said, "Hey, no, Kyle, talk to you, blah blah blah." And then the reason we have a double feature on this one is you'll hear that this one's kind of like old school post hardcore in the sense that it's like a bit more soft, a bit more rhythmic and melodic in the verse and chorus, and then it gets heavy in the bridge.
Yeah.
And kind of required like more of an aggressive screaming vocal, which Simon he doesn't scream, right? So we needed someone who could kind of get a real punchy bridge going. So Nightwill is actually the band that Kyle's in, and his vocalist Jason stepped up to the plate and was like, "Hey, like we know that he can really belt, he can scream, so we got him on it. Their band's really sick, so you should definitely check them out too." And so that's again another reason why we have the double feature on this track in particular.
That's really cool. I do appreciate that, because I think it's like the dichotomy of, like, you know, I feel like having a clean singer and having a screamer is always really cool. You know, I feel like if you are into alt music, like that's the go-to strat. But yeah, In Case We Crash, they write great music, so go check them out. And Nightwell, I'll definitely have to go give a listen. And Kyle, if you're hanging out, feel free to come on the channel. I'd love to have you on the chat.
I think he said he was going to listen to this while he's working out at the gym, so he's probably heard his name a few times and getting a little excited. Hi, Kyle.
Well, Kyle, you know what to do. You can hit me up. I'd love to have you guys on. But yeah, this one, I'm curious on how this one's gonna pan out. Thus far, it's been real solid. So I feel like, you know, keeping it up with the solid jams right here is always a good thing. So guys, we're gonna move it into track number 3, which is 1 year later. In 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, that was 1 year later, and that features In Case We Crash and Nightwell. This one was very, like, again, nostalgia driven. Really enjoyed the guitar work on this. I know you mentioned movements earlier. I could definitely notate a little bit of movements, vibe going on there. Um, but I really feel like once that bridge like kicked in and Nightwell Screamer came in, that was just like super hard. Definitely enjoyed that. But Simon, In Case We Crash, he's got such a different voice. Like I feel like some of the vocal layering on this track was really well done. Just like there's a little bit of ad libby parts, and I know you mentioned that on the
Hmm.
last track in Ghost, but um, it just really fits. So I thought like it just kind of meshed both like the best things that I really kind of like about a pop punk track, but also like as well as just like some really good post hardcore vibes. So well done, Doug. I thought that one, I was a little bit. I mean, Ghost is still, still up here. It's gonna be very hard to dethrone that one, at least in my mind. But if I had to tear it out, I'd probably put it like somewhere in that threshold there. Sophie says it's the best song, so shouts to Sophie. And my friend Daryl says post-hardcore vibes are solid. So I would
Thank
also
you,
care to
Daryl.
agree, I'd also care to agree with that. Shouts to Kyle. Yeah, adds Nightwell to playlist. Listen, I will now. I Before I didn't know, but now I know. So thanks for tell Doug thanks
So the
for
cool thing,
informing me that.
I guess the interesting thing about having Nightwell's vocalist Jason on it. So Jason clearly has the capability to do an aggressive vocal and scream, whereas Nightwell's like more like of that movements vibe. Like he doesn't actually scream. Like I think he does a few like scream and aggressive layers in the background on
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
chorus or something here and there. But like their projects like 99% like clean vocals, like
yeah.
so you like it's pretty impressive. Like once you now go and check out their music to see like how dynamic his vocal range is, and like what like he can like do like the most softest like R&B like influence vocals, and then belt his lungs out on it on a part like that. His like old band, I believe he did more like aggressive singing
Sure,
in
yeah,
as
I could
well.
tell.
So I know like a lot of his like friends and like longtime fans were kind of excited to hear him like really belt out on a song again. I think he had fun doing it.
I am gonna be really excited because at least for me, it's the inverse, right? Like I hear him screaming on this track, and I'm like, "Yo," I was like, "He's got some real good screams." And then when you tell me his actual music is like in a different lane, I think that's really
Hmm.
cool. So I think for me, it's like it's cool that you're utilizing the stuff that I don't want to say that doesn't exist, but like using things that you already have like within the music, and you already knew that
Yeah, yeah.
it could be used up. So again, kudos on that. I thought that was really just well executed. Again, Simon with the kind of like musical runs he did, like even listening back and just kind of listening to like the little like vocal parts going on there, it was just really well put together. So again, not gonna top Ghost for me, but I would say it's remotely close second. I would argue, but
Nice.
um, in terms of lyrics, Doug, what are we working with here?
So this one, interesting enough, similar to Warning, the same thing. The demo name of the project actually became the final master name of the song. So I demoed it out, saved the file as 1 year later. And this one, Simon actually did ask for some help. He kind of wanted like a jumping off point from
Sure. Yeah.
just like a lyrical and thematic inspiration. And so the when we were chatting with him, this would have been in like the late summer or fall of 2020, and like COVID was really ramped up. Like
Yeah.
lockdowns
Yeah.
were heavy. Like you couldn't even like go see your own parents type thing. So we kind of asked him to kind of lean in on that in the sense of like feeling trapped, feeling like contained. But we didn't want it to be like too COVID specific to like date the song like at a future point in time.
I got you. Yeah.
Like so he kind of just used like the general sense of like feeling trapped, contained, isolated, like wanting to break free, um, and get out as like the main lyrical concept. And then Jason jumped in on that as well. His part's a bit more literal and a bit more like specific, I'd say, from
Mm-hmm.
a like messaging standpoint, like talking about news and media and stuff in that aspect. So it's kind of cool to hear kind of like the yin and the yang of like a very kind of like general sense of a theme, and then
Yeah.
Jason comes in and is like super literal with what he's feeling and stuff, and kind of letting the world hear it.
It's a cool juxtaposition. Like I didn't really put those two things together. Like I assumed I mean, obviously, lyrically, I knew it wasn't going to be like exactly relating to COVID, but I just had a feeling based off of the title track name. I was like, it feels very much in that lane, but I like that it wasn't, like you said, directly related to that. You know what I mean? Like, you can feel like, there's plenty of people that have that feeling of isolation or feeling lonely or something like that. And I feel like it plays off that more so than like being specific to one, event in our lives now.
Hmm.
So I thought that was really cool. And the comparatively to the more literal sense of, what was going on in the bridge, I thought that was really cool lyrically wise. And I don't often point those sort of stuff out because, um, like you were doing earlier, Doug, where you're just like, this is like, I wanted it to go wing wing, like that's me. Like that's how I explain music to people now. Um, and so I totally get that aspect of it. So it's more so for me, it's like if I can be drawn in musically first and then listen to the lyrics after, like that makes it a little bit more appealing to me. But again, having you on to kind of explain those sorts of things, I think
Hmm.
is really cool. So, again, very cool. Again, go check out In Case We Crash Nightwell. If you haven't, like, as Kyle said, you have to add Nightwell to your playlist. If you're watching this, you just
Well,
gotta do
Kyle's
it.
a little biased because he's in Nightwell.
Well, I mean, he can be very biased. I could say like subscribe to my YouTube channel, and that'd also be very biased. But I mean, if you want to, that's cool. I'm not gonna stop you. But anyway, we're gonna
No, you
move.
should definitely check out Nightwell.
Uh, but the next one, Doug, this one is Edge of Collapse, and this one features, I believe it is Saving Vice, which I'm very familiar with. Shout outs to my friend Sam. She was the one who told me about them. I want to say over a year ago, maybe something like that. And I haven't had them on, but Saving Vice, I'd love to have you on. First of all, and secondly, I'm curious how you got them on your track, Doug. Was this a DM exchange, or I'm just curious on how this went about?
Uh, so this Tyler was actually, so there's two vocalists in Saving Vice. The one on uh that's singing on this song in particular is Tyler Small, who does both aggressive and cleans for
Mm-hmm.
the band.
Yeah.
The second vocalist, I can't recall his name off the top of my head. He's just a secondary aggressive vocalist as well. So Tyler was actually the first vocalist to sign on and
Oh, very cool.
really commit to the project. So he was patient zero, so to speak. And this one was also a second degree of separation through the same friend that connected me to Devil in the Details. Um, so he, I messaged him and said, "Hey, like I've basically same sort of story as like, hey,
Yeah.
I've got these songs. Like, this is what I'm looking to do. Like, do you know anyone that could sound cool in these songs?" And the first name he gave was Saving Vice. He said, "Hey, like I know the guys in this band, and I think he could sound really cool on them." And because Tyler was the first one, I sent him all. I think it was three or four songs at the time. Said, "Hey, like
Oh, very
let
cool.
me know which one's your vibe." So he was actually weighing between Warning and the song Edge of Collapse, kind of like teetering like which one he wanted to sing on, and ended up picking this one. Um, and so yeah, it was just kind of through a mutual friend that put us in touch together. So shout out to Tyler Johnson for making those connections happen because it was huge. getting Tyler on first, because they're a fairly notable band
Yeah.
in the metalcore scene right now. So I think getting him on early kind of helped legitimize the project when I started reaching out to other people saying, "Hey, Tyler from this band, the band Saving Vice is on it." Kind of gave some people some more confidence when saying, "Okay, I'll do it then as well."
Yeah, I feel like if at least if I was in your position, like I feel like you really have to pull out all the stops, right? Like you got to make sure like people don't know who you are, right? And to have the idea
No,
of
especially because I didn't have a band before it either. So
oh
it's not
wow,
like I'm
okay,
like, hey,
yeah,
I was in this band before, and now I'm doing this. So it's like kind of like starting cold. So it's like people don't have anything to go off of. I've got no listeners, no social media, no stats for them to kind of like benchmark. So every essentially kind of everyone, regardless of who, like what stage they joined, was taking some level of a leap of faith when they were participating in it. Like, is it gonna suck? Is it gonna do well? Is like are only five people gonna hear this? So
yeah,
like everyone took some level of swing regardless. So hats off to all of them for saying yes.
yeah. I feel like it's like I think it just impresses me more than anything else, right? Like, and we'll get into the song in a second, but like for me, I feel like it would just be like if I didn't like if it was basically kind of like starting a YouTube channel. Like people don't know who you are, what you're gonna do, like or a
Hmm.
TikTok channel or something like that. Like it's just kind of wild that it's kind of wild that artists do this, right? Like they're like, man, I'm gonna take this risk, I hope it does well. Like I mean, regardless of whether or not like they're invested in it or not, like it's just so wild that people are like, let me do this, like this is something that I feel like would be really cool for me to do. And I hope that they all kind of look back on it and think of it as a good memory, because at least for me,
Hmm.
I'm enjoying it, from the aspect of just like, man, like all of these people kind of came together in such a way. And I feel like as you added more people on, it just kind of further like stated like this is a legitimate thing, right? Like I'm sure once you got Scott on, you're like, this is legit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm doing this thing, right? Not that it
Yeah,
wasn't
yeah,
before,
it
but
helps. It helps a lot. Yeah.
so definitely really cool. But excited to get into this one. This is Edge of Claps featuring Saving Vice. Let's get into it in 3, 2, 1. Cool, Red. Here it comes. Oh, yeah. All right, guys, that was Edge of Collabs featuring Saving Vice. That one was cool. I dug that one. I think it's. Oh man, that's tough. Where would I put this one at? Hmm.
It's tough because they're all like they're
They're all
similar
different.
but very different from each other. So it's like how do you compare?
I
Because the
feel like
baseline is all over the place.
that's true. That's true. I feel like I would put it on the same level as 1 year later. Maybe like a little bit, maybe a step below, but not much, honestly. Definitely reminds me of kind of a hybrid between like I could hear a little bit of like Under Oath in there, a little sprinkling.
Hmm.
Definitely Silverstein for sure. I
Yeah.
love that one guitar riff where it's like da da da, and then it does like the wow, I'm really blanking on the name, which goes to show I'm not, can't remember guitar names. Um, these like harmonics, that's the word. I can remember things.
Oh yeah, the harmonics
The
in the
harmonic
verse.
parts, that
Doo-doo,
was
doo-doo.
yeah, that was super sick. So, definitely dug that. Um, in terms of the vocals, I thought they were really solid. Definitely, the screaming was really impressive, especially once everything kind of dropped out in that bridge, and then really just kind of really kind of just brought it home after that point. Um, that like just that end bridge to like that last chorus was just really solid. Um, but I enjoyed this one a lot. I am curious in terms of like you said, Warnings, one of the oldest ones, if not the oldest track. I'm curious where Edge of Collapse kind of fits. I'm gonna guess it's on the older scale. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say Warnings the oldest, and Edge of Collapse is like in that next slot. If I had to guess, I'm just
Yeah, so it is the second oldest from like a fully written standpoint.
sure,
So
yeah.
um I wrote that like probably 2 weeks into like COVID lockdown.
Oh wow, okay.
Um that so that song was, I guess, like once I wrote that I was really stoked with like how it turned out. From demo to final product instrumentally, not much changed on it. There's like I think we mainly just took stuff out because
Yeah.
it was a little long, so we just trimmed like it used to have a pre-chorus section to it as well. So we cut that out. Um, and then other than that, there's just added some like cool like guitar harmonies and stuff. So um, that one was pretty solid from when I first got together with Kyle. So yeah, writing that, I was like, wow, I really like what I've done here. I want to do more of this. So I would really say that is the song that really kickstarted it all together. Um, Wanting to release this like project that's grounded in post-hardcore, but that kind of also leans into like emo pop punk.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, this is the older song, and then I dipped back into Warning because once I started going down this road of post-hardcore, I was like, well, I've got this riff that I wrote back in university. I want to make something of it. So that's why I kind of dipped back into like old song idea archives for that one. But yeah, it's not like this was written in like 10 years ago, when this was like more of like the mainstream music that people were listening to. It was written pretty recently in the grand scheme of everything.
No, and I mean, it was cool. Again, I feel like a lot of your stuff has that, just like, at least for me, it has that nostalgia appeal. Like there's some riffs that I'm like, man, he must have listened to like a lot of this band, and like it's weird because like you can kind of, at least for me, and listening to music for as long as I have, those are things that I kind of like notate in my head. But yeah, this one was really, really well put together. Honestly, if you had told me it was the second oldest track that you've written, I probably would have been like, "That's a bunch of bullshit." But um, I dug this one a lot. I feel like Tyler did a fantastic job in terms of not only handling the clean singing but also screaming as well. I thought they just, he just did a really great job. Um, in terms of lyrical, process, was this fairly similar to some of the other tracks off the EP, or is it a little bit different?
No, it's exact same thing. He took this one on his own. Like he didn't ask for like any help or any
Mm,
sort of ideas. He took it and ran with it. Um, lyrically, if you don't have lyrics or anything, like you can really tell it. Like Edge of Collapse really is like the overarching theme. It's like about being at that point, like at your breaking point where you like can't take things anymore. But like it does also have a message of needing to push through and get past that point because like something better is on the other side.
yeah.
So it kind of does delve into that like overarching mental health aspects. Um, and if you kind of think about when this song was written, like there's a lot going on with people at that
Yeah.
time. So I think uh, it was really like a good pen to paper moment for Tyler to kind of write something like that and really kind of get that message out there for other people as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I kind of assumed as much, but it's good to kind of get clarification on that. But yeah, um, I definitely feel that, and I'm sure a lot of people, that have been through this also can feel the same way about it. But really dug this one, guys. Check out Saving Vice if you haven't. I don't know why you wouldn't, because they're great. So go give them a listen. And the last track, Doug, we're getting to the crown jewel
Where it
here,
started.
where it all started. This one is Dead Weight. This one features Tiger Wine. Um, how did you go about getting this one? I think we kind of talked about it in our interview because I think that was a talking point I wanted to have about it. But I'm curious how it all went down. I probably need a little bit of a refresher since it's been almost a year.
This one, I slid into Hayden's DMs and just said, "Hey man, can you sing on a song?" Essentially, so this was just a cold message, like a cold, I guess, a cold sales pitch
Yeah,
into his Facebook Messenger and saying, "Hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Let me know if you're down." In so many words. And the cool thing about him was he responded, I think, in like two minutes. Like he
oh, that's
responded
awesome.
so quickly and was like an immediate yes. So like he bought on into it really really quickly, which was fantastic. Um, like vocally, like if you were to strip out the vocals and kind of focus on the instrumental, like this one probably required the most unique voice and vision for it. I'd say like it's um I'd say the most intricate song
Sure. Yeah,
because
I know.
it's
Yeah.
not really like other like the chorus is driving like it is a big chorus, but like the verse is very intricate. It's very spacey. So you really it needed someone that was going to use their voice as an instrument to really drive the melody um, and pull a listener in. So this one, I think this one really took a lot of like searching to find the right vocalist. Like I was really particular about who I wanted on this one,
Yeah.
and Hayden was like the top pick for it. So I was really excited what he did with it. Um, and this one, from I guess the cool thing to the whole project is I'm not much of a vocalist, so or like I'm not a vocalist at all, but like I can hear melodies and stuff. So like it was cool to kind of send out a song. I have an idea of where I would put a melody, so to hear
Sure.
what
Yeah.
other people heard on it was a really cool process through it all.
Mm-hmm.
Like hearing the melodies they heard, where they heard the phrasings going was really cool. And I'd say like from where my expectation to what the vocalist did, this song like totally took me by surprise what Hayden did. So like I remember getting the demo back and like immediately firing it off the club and like holy shit, like you got to hear what he came up with like um and like for me one of the coolest things was like over like the main hook line like
Mm-hmm.
the like that like the ooh and ah vocal that people will hear once we get into the song like he like that wasn't a production thing we added and had in there. He added those vocal cords himself, like to make it like give it that super under oathy vibe to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, him adding that completely changed the song from what it was and to where he took it. So, like his vision added so much to it.
That's awesome. Like, it's good to know that you got so much out of it, and obviously, shouts to Hayden of Tiger Wine. I'm going to shill again. Go check out Tiger Wine. I don't know why you haven't already, because, well, just wait till this is done and then you go check out Tiger Wine. But anyway, no, they're great. And when you told me Hayden was like the first song to be released, I was like already stoked already. And this is the only one that I've actually truly listened to, so I enjoy it. But getting into some comments before we start on Deadweight, Stephen Kenny says great EP. Shouts to Stephen. Thanks for watching, Stephen. And Sophie has another question, which is Doug's favorite off the EP and why?
I would say I fluctuate between 1 year later and Deadweight. So 1 year later, I think the reason for 1 year later is I think chorus melody. I think the chorus melody is the strongest on that one. And it's like super catchy. It's super earwormy and gets stuck into your head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say like Deadweight also fluctuate. They definitely ebb and flow depending on what mood I'm in. But similar to the reasons that we were talking before, I think just from like where my expectation of the song was going to be, and from then where Hayden helped bring it, like just that like sheer impact has always stuck with me, and like how special that song became with his involvement. And I think Deadweight also from the aspect I feel like it's the most unique song on the record as well. So I think that's also why it holds a special place for me. I feel like it kind of sits in its own world a little bit and doesn't have as much commonalities to other songs out there as some of the other ones may. So from a differentiation standpoint, I also really like it for that reason.
Listen, that's some good reasons. I don't know. It's tough. I think, oh man, I'm going to say Ghosts probably, unless like, I mean, I obviously have listened to Deadweight and that one's up there 100%, no doubt. But man, I was really taken aback by Ghosts. So I feel like unless I need to just get a refresher, which I'm going to get with Deadweight, I don't know. But we'll talk about it in a second, guys. We're going to listen to the last track off the EP, maybe next year, Volume 1. This one's called Deadweight and features Tiger Wine. So get ready in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I forgot how cool that intro was. All right, guys, that was the last track, Dead Weight. Man, I forgot how good that song is. Like, I think you said it very
It's been a
well.
while since I listened to it too, and I was like,
Uh,
ooh,
man,
still
it's
gives me like
so good.
shivers.
It's so good. Man, that is really rivaling just my favorite track, Ghost. I don't know. I'm gonna tie it. I think Ghost and Dead Weight are in the same as number one. Um, and then I'd probably put 1 year later, and then I probably put Edge of Collapse, and I'd say Warning was my least favorite. It's not because it's a bad track. I just wasn't vibing with that one. But um, I think you alluded to it pretty well, Doug, earlier, which was like, um, in so many words, you were like, man, like Hayden's voice just works so well with this track, and
Yeah.
how like you imagine a vocalist to just fit so well into a song, and this is just one really good example of that. Like, if you had told me Hayden wasn't in the band, like, I would have been like, that's a whole load of shit. There's no way he's not in this band because it just works so well. And so just listening back to it and having not listening to it for like a year now, I think, um, yeah, it just works so well, and just like you said with like the oohs and ahs that he kind of did, it very made it very Under Oath-ish, but I just think his
Hmm.
vocals are just like so strong too. Like, chorus wise, he was
Yeah,
just like
he's got a powerful voice for
he was
sure.
just ripping it. And so
Hmm.
I think that's what really stuck with me, was just like emotional fortitude in this track was just over 9,000 for me in terms of what Hayden was doing, and then like Ghost just hit that nostalgia notch, at least for me. um but yeah, this one.
Yeah, I think the cool thing. Sorry, I'll say the cool thing with this project that I found, certainly for me, like being, I guess, like the main creator behind it, is
Yeah, yeah,
because there's different vocalists. Like each song kind of skews a different, like a little bit more into this side of the genre, a little bit
yeah,
more into
sure,
that side of the
yeah,
genre. The nice thing is that like everyone I talk to has a different favorite song, which makes it like super worth it for me.
yeah,
It's not like I released an EP and everyone's like, yeah, that's the
that's the one.
favorite song,
Yeah,
and everyone's saying the same song. Like everyone I talk to has a different favorite song. So I'm like, that makes it really cool for me, because I'm like, it's great that like there's something for like a lot of different people on the EP,
hmm,
and that like there's no like clear one standout. Like there's things that skew for a wide range of listeners. So that's been like a really rewarding part for me, is that there's people that love every song.
that's awesome. Well, I'm glad you've been getting really great feedback, and hopefully this will revive the EP, and hopefully other people check it out. I'd highly recommend giving it a listen, even though we listened to it, and most likely I'll get DMCA'd.
Give
So
me those Spotify streams, guys.
I'll get DMCA'd. So most likely people will be watching the cut version, um, but yeah, I really dug this in terms of like. In terms of writing, Doug, how long did this one take? Was this one kind of like on the newerish end of the scale? And then in terms of lyrics, we can kind of go further into that too.
Yeah, so similar to Ghost, this one was also written once the ball was already rolling on the project. So of the five songs I had, or four songs, whatever it was, like uh, I wrote this one evening, and again, it stood out from some of the other stuff that I had shortlisted with Kyle, and so it kind of made its way in. This one came in much like sooner into the picture than
Sure.
like Ghost did, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Ghost came in like months later. This song was like not too far. We weren't too far down the rabbit hole, um, to the point where it wouldn't have existed. But this one shaped. This one probably changed, I'd say, the most from demo to like my demo to the final master.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for example, like you might hear a little bit of it. Like one of the main influences for me when writing this song was actually like Matchbook Romance. So I was listening
Oh.
to a lot of Matchbook Romance like the afternoon I wrote this. And there's definitely influence in there if you kind of like peeled apart the layers. And the verse, for example, used to be like straight like like straight eighth pulsing like
Ah,
rhythmic guitar. And so like this song, Kyle specifically had like a huge hand in shaping what it was to what it became. So like he had the idea to kind of like strip down the chords to make them like more like tensiony and just
yeah,
like
yeah.
held out notes versus just like a pulsing guitar line. Um, I can't. We changed up the bridge quite a bit from what it was. Um, and then yeah, like Hayden adding that the ooh and ah vocal over that the main guitar hook transformed it big time. Um, and then actually once we got Hayden's vocal back, uh, the bridge um, initially didn't have like break section
Mm-hmm.
where it kind of just like the chords just hold out for 4 bars and then come back into the final chorus. That initially didn't exist. So it was once we got the his demo back, we're like, oh, we need to kind of add some breathing room between the bridge and the final chorus.
Yeah, yeah.
So um, it's kind of working with the demo that we had and realized that we need to kind of just give some more space for the song to breathe. Um, so yeah, this one was really cool to see it take shape over the different stages.
Yeah, I'm glad that Kyle had a good hand in this because I feel like I love the space in the verses and then just really kind of like again like kind of pushing it towards the chorus and just having like um a strong drive, really
Hmm.
into the chorus, like even into the bridge and stuff. I couldn't even imagine it having like eighth notes in the verse. Like just listening to it now,
No,
like go ahead,
I've
Doug.
actually wanted to like post a video on TikTok or something, being like, here's the demo versus the master, and like
Yeah,
especially for that one because that one was is so different from the conception stage.
yeah, I can imagine, and like I feel like the song would just be entirely different, vibe wise, and I'm glad that
Yeah,
this
it
just
would.
has.
Yeah.
I feel like at least for me, and listening through to the whole EP, like this one has so much more like space to it that I feel like is just well rounded. Like it just makes the songs really. It makes this song just that much more differentiated from a lot of the other songs off this EP. Like if I was to go listen to this, like I would think, like I would know immediately when Dead Weight started playing, just because it is different. And I know you mentioned it earlier, Doug, just having a variety of songs for different people and having everybody having a different favorite.
Hmm.
And I think that just I feel like this song for like just really surmises that like there are just different songs off this EP, and you're gonna have everybody's gonna have a different favorite song, and that's awesome. So, really dug this one. Again, Ghost, Deadweight, number ones, at least for me. But the last thing, Doug, and then I'll let you shill for the last bit of time we got. Um, you did mention that you're working on some new material. I'm curious if you want to put out in the ether anyone that you would like to have on this up and coming, EP album, etc.
Oh, put it out into the ether. Shane Told, if you're listening, hop on a track. Uh, Cove from Seosin and now Dead American. If you want to get on a track, please
Woo!
do. um, yeah, those would be some top tier vocalists that I would die to work with on something.
I might have to see if I can pull some strings, maybe. Not on the Shane one. I wish I could
Manifested.
put.
It's manifested now.
I wish I could pull the strings on Shane. That would be great. I want Shane to come on the channel, so I'm gonna manifest Shane. If you also watch this, feel free to come on the channel because I'd love to have you on the talk. But anyway, that's enough of me shilling. I'm gonna let Doug shill for a little bit. Tell the people where they can find Coe Hill, what you have coming up, what you kind of alluded to, and just anything else that you would like to promote or talk about, Doug.
Yeah, if people want to connect with me, I'm really active on TikTok and Instagram. So on TikTok, you can find me at Coe Hill, and then on Instagram, I'm at Coe Hill Music. On Instagram, I post a lot of the same content that I am on TikTok anyway. So whatever your preferred platform is, you can find me on either there. Really just focused on entertaining people with music related content right now, in between um, song posts and other news related specifically to my releases. And then, yeah, currently in the stages of getting a new single out as quickly as possible.
Ooh.
Kyle and I have put together a demo. I've got a vocalist that's working on some ideas right now. So hopefully that comes to life sooner than later. And then once we get like a single out the gate, we're going to really focus on getting a proper EP release cycle going after that. And so, yeah, looking forward to the new stuff. You can expect it to be all collaboration still. It's going to be grounded in the alternative music scene with post-hardcore influence, pop punk influence, a little bit of metalcore influence as well. Um, as far as like EP1 goes, trying to incorporate some of that more dead weight style of spaciness, delaying. Um, so, and a lot of people really like that song. So in particular, trying to capture some of those elements in more of the new stuff as well. And yeah, really liking how things are shaping up in the early stages.
There we go. Well, again, guys, if you haven't checked out Doug's project, Coe Hill, listen, we will listen to the entire EP. You need to give this man some love. So I'll leave all the links in the description and go check him out. Please go give him a listen, and I'm sure that Doug will be coming on again with his next EP, and I can be shocked and awed by the people that he has on. So very excited. If you haven't listened to Coe Hill, definitely do so. Go follow him on TikTok. Listen, Mark Hoppus is on it already, so y'all are all behind. That's all I'm saying. And if you enjoyed this content, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way. I plan on doing many more of these just because I enjoy doing them. B, it cuts down on my editing time, so that's also, lovely thing. And C, I enjoy having these conversations because I feel like as a music connoisseur, uh, I love to know about these little itty bitty details that no one gives a fuck about. So hopefully, if you are one of those people that enjoys those like things that those subtle nuances that you would never know about, welcome. But thanks again to Doug for coming on, chatting. Again, hope to have you back on again soon, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and we'll chat soon.